with Kramnik in Chennai, and here he is fighting against him. D4, D5, C4, and we're going to witness the Slav defense by Vladimir Kramnik, an opening that he championed and beat Topalov by essaying that with the black pieces. Now knight f3, knight f6, and Arjun goes for the exchange Slav. This is a very curious choice by the Indian youngster. The reason is that Kramnik is known for his positional chess. That is very clear. And to beat Kramnik in such a symmetrical position is not going to be easy. Also, Arjun is known for his tactical play. So why does he go for this simple, safe line? Well, only time will tell. Queen b3, this is all well-known theory. You give a check, you force the bishop to go back to d7 and sort of waste time with your queen coming back here, but in return you get this important diagonal and the bishop is kind of locked in to the pawn chain. Kramnik plays e6 and Arjun now pushes his pawn to e3. He wants to bring his bishop out to d3 and then short castle, but Kramnik says, Arjun, give me your bishop. This bishop on f4 is attacked. Arjun plays it to e5 and wants Kramnik to sort of play f6. Once that move is provoked, like it happens here, the king side is slightly softened up. Bishop goes back to g3 and now Kramnik can chop off the bishop, but maybe not so soon. He brings his rook to c8. Very logical play by black. The position is roundabout even here. Now for Arjun, the most logical choice here is to put the bishop on d3 and attack the pawn on h7. He does that and he attacks there. Now Kramnik must do something about it because he cannot lose this pawn. Then there would be a check here. So he plays g6 and you might feel like bishop g6, h g6, queen g6 is dangerous, but after king e7 there's nothing. So g6 is fine. Arjun plays a3 trying to prevent bishop b4 and Kramnik moves in with his knight to c4. The knight is well placed, but it's currently attacking nothing much. So Arjun castles it out. Now the bishop is taken, h takes g3. Taking stock of the position, you realize that for the time being, black has the bishop pair, but he must take care of his development. If he had played bishop d6, e4 would have been very strong. So Kramnik goes b5, but this is risky chess because after queen e2, a very powerful move by Arjun, b3 is a massive threat here. And it's very difficult to meet this move. Bishop g7 is played, but now what has Vladimir planned for b3? Once the knight is kicked away, which has happened, the knight has to go back, and you can see there Kramnik making an expression like, oh my god, I just missed this move completely. Now knight goes back, but there are 3 attackers on this pawn. Also notice that there was no real tactic that was happening on the c3 knight, which was undefended. I can show you that after king e7, white is a simple pawn up. So after b3, if you took knight e3, then queen e3, rook c3 is met with bishop g6. So that was the point. Maybe could have been missed by Kramnik. After rook fc1, white is a healthy pawn up. But converting this position is not going to be very easy. For the first time, Arjun is kind of low on time. He has 5 minutes on the clock. Kramnik has 7 minutes. But now Arjun attacks the rook. He says that the rook on c8 needs to move away, and it has to, because now the rook must take on c1 or just move down the c file. He plays rook c6, but Arjun now can fight for the c file. First, he chops off the rook. Rook takes c6, good move. Queen takes c6, and this next move is amazing. Queen f1, keeping control of the bishop here and preparing rook c1 to attack the queen. Fantastic play by Arjun Erigaisi now. He's converting this very smoothly. g5 played by Kramnik, trying to create play on the king side, but first the open file is taken control of. b3 pawn is attacked by the queen on b6 and Arjun can just simply push it forward. He does so. b4 played. In order to win this game, you need to start pushing your queen side majority, but Kramnik is kind of attacking on the king side with his pawns. It's not going to be very easy, especially because the black king is weak. a5 played, But now Arjun gets a passer. He pushes his pawn to b5, and if Kramnik plays a4 here, that pawn could become a weakness, and also rook c6 is a very powerful move. So rook c8 played by Kramnik. He wants to take sort of exchange the rooks there, but with more exchanges, Arjun's extra pawn starts getting stronger. King to f7 played. And how does Arjun now improve his position? A very good idea is to take on c8 and play queen c1. But Arjun first brings his knight back to d1. Notice that the pawn on h5 is undefended and can come under trouble. f5 played by Kramnik, and now a very good idea. Take on c8, take on c8, put your queen on d1, attack h5, then move to c2, enter down the c file. This is how that could work out, but Arjun plays knight to b3. His plan is that he wants to come into c5, which is very logical chess. Kramnik now trying desperately to find some kind of counterplay. He's down to a minute on the clock. Arjun has still kept his 4 minutes there, so that's a very healthy lead on the clock as well. Kramnik takes on c1, queen takes c1, and bishop f6 is played with the idea of creating some play on the king side with h4 perhaps. Arjun now goes king f1. Very smart. You know what he wants to do is maybe put his king on e2 and then swing his queen over to the h file to attack the h5 pawn. Bishop goes back to d8 and king comes in to e2. It's these little moves that Arjun plays really well. With g4 now, Kramnik is trying to gain more space on the king side, but the h5 pawn has become a huge weakness. First the knight jumps in to c5. It not only is standing on a beautiful square, but it's looking at d7 to attack the queen and then move into e5 with a check. The knight will be an absolute monster on the c5 square. Well, how should Kramnik continue here? He goes knight e8. Maybe he wants to just play knight f6 and knight e4. But Arjun moves in, knight to d7. Very smoothly played here, attacking the queen. There you can see Vincent Kaimar in the background looking at the game. Now the queen is attacked. The queen has to move. 20 seconds left for Kramnik. He plays queen to b7, attacking the knight, and now the knight can jump to e5. Knight e5 check. Where does the king go? King can go to e7, but then there is queen c5 check, which can be very dangerous. So he goes to g7. But now Arjun has a very nice plan. He can go to h1, attack the pawn, and then open up the king side with f3. He does it. He plays queen h1, attacking the pawn on h5. And to king h6, now comes an important move here that he must find, which is f3, to open up even more lines against the black king. With 1 minute 47 seconds left, Arjun must figure out this move. Kramnik has only 21 seconds. He plays f3. Fantastic chess by the youngster. He is just methodically cracking down this position and not really facing any technical difficulties to beat a legend like Kramnik. He goes queen to h4. Wow, that's such a sharp move, because there can be a discovered attack here, but the bishop is undefended, so the knight cannot really go anywhere, and Arjun has calculated that really well. So firstly, Kramnik must defend the bishop somehow in order to give some discovered attack. He goes queen e7. Now there's knight c6 in the position. There's also f4 maybe to get in queen g5. Arjun pushes the pawn to f4 and knight goes back to g8. Do you exchange the queens? You can, but Arjun finds a tactic, beautiful tactic there. Queen takes f7 and he picks up the bishop. Well, although you have exchanged one piece for another piece, what has essentially happened is the queen has broken in, and now the b pawn is ready to roll down the board. Knight f6 played. And it's time for the B pawn to shine. Arjun pushes the pawn, B6, King G6 played, and now Queen C7 seems like a very obvious move. If you take the C pawn, will Queen. So Queen C7 played by Arjun. Fine move there. And this is game over, guys. There's nothing much to do. The B pawn is queening now, and Arjun has it all under control. Kramnik has last 15 seconds left to figure out what he must do here, but there is nothing much that he can. He plays H4 as one final attempt to do something. He sees that if the queens are exchanged, his knight can actually stop the pawn from D7, but Arjun says thank you so much for the free pawn. Also a threat is now created of H5 check. Kramnik plays Queen F8, but now with B7 coming in, the B pawn is about to queen, and with that Arjun is going to score another important victory in the tournament. Kramnik resigns with a smile. What is very appreciable is how Arjun managed to beat Kramnik with the exchange Slav. An opening which is known for its calmness, a positional opening, but Arjun made absolutely no errors and managed to win the game quite smoothly. Fantastic play by the youngster.